All right. Episode 16 of the Villain District podcast is coming at you right now. Bam, 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 blap, blap. On this episode, we have the local Louisville comic book writer and artist, or artist and writer, if you want to put it that way, Steven Bowman. That's B-O-W-M-A-N. Steven Bowman, who is sort of the one-stop shop for Astounding Tales Comics. You can buy Steven's comics locally, and they're awesome. And so we at the Villain District podcast highly recommend it. You can check out Steven's art and the Astounding Tales stuff at astoundingtalescomics.com. You can also see a lot of his awesome artwork that comes out pretty much every day on his Twitter. His Twitter is the Steven Bowman, and you can also see it on Instagram, which is just at Steven Bowman. So go check that stuff out. If you're in Louisville or the surrounding area, make a trip in to one of the comic shops that sells Astounding Tales stuff, because it's awesome. We talk about particularly a book called The Sidekick, which was fantastic. Me and Joe read it. So go check it out. This may contain small spoilers for The Sidekick, but we try to stay away from that stuff. So
Joe and I read it.
Yeah, so me and Joe had a good time talking to Steven, so we hope you enjoy it. And this is episode number 16 coming at ya! Blah, blah, blah.
You are now a loyal follower of the Villain District podcast.
Are we off?
Cool, we're off.
Cool.
How are you, Steven?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing pretty well.
Good.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
It's very nice to be here.
We've
a beautiful establishment.
Thank you.
Yeah,
now, this place used to be a bar. I don't know if you have... We'll talk about it.
That's why we're drinking beer.
We'll talk about where you've come from, where you've been. But if you have been around here in the last maybe 10 years ago, I don't know how old you are, but... Or if you're...
I'm very old.
Very old.
You're at least 10 years old.
I would definitely remember 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, but if he's at least 10 years old, and 10 years ago he was drinking in the Butchertown pub...
yeah.
Might be a problem.
I don't know about that. No.
But I don't think I was... There was a place on Story Avenue that I saw a couple shows at. I can't remember the name of it, though.
Yeah.
It had like an indoor garden type of...
Oh,
like
you know what?
Fountain
yeah.
area.
This could have been that.
It's possible.
This area right here used to be outside.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know
This
that.
is probably it then.
So, like, if you look through... You see where the walls are white?
Yeah.
I think that was outdoors.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
This might be the place.
Very cool.
Maybe you saw some shows here. I know...
I might have some flashbacks later.
That's okay. I was working with a commercial producer that, for like, I don't know, some sort of digital content we were doing, but the producers come in and they direct the voice talent and all that stuff, and she was like, I've got some pictures from here that I could blow up for you and you could put them on the walls, but they were of my life experience inside these walls.
Nice.
She's like, I have
Nice.
I have kids now.
Nice.
So, but...
Got to keep them records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I'm not from here, so like I'm from South Central Kentucky.
Okay.
So the history of the Butchertown pub, like,
Yeah.
sad to say, it's lost on me.
Yeah. It's not part of your experience.
When I got here, this was a fully operational recording studio.
So speaking of our experiences, mine and Joe's in Louisville.
Okay.
Segue.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It was pretty good. So Joe's been here for you moved up here. We've always lived in Kentucky, but Joe lived up here.
It'll be three years in this fall.
And I moved up about a year after you, so I'm
Right.
coming up on 2 years. And I guess it was sometime last summer, potentially. I was walking around. I live off Bardstown Road. It would have been last fall sometime. I live off Bardstown Road, and so I went down, and there was a fair, like a street craft fair.
Probably the Highlands Fest.
Probably the Highlands Fest, yes. I couldn't remember what it's called, but I was walking around, I was looking at all this stuff, and it's cool. It's a good excuse to sort of get out of your house, but a lot of it's not like my wheelhouse, right? It's like, necklaces made out of bones.
Jewelry.
Yeah, jewelry. Hot dogs. I'm into that, but
pot holders.
Pot holders,
Yeah,
exactly.
things like that,
Exactly. And then I see this one booth that is right down my alley,
Right.
which is local comics.
And yeah, exactly. I was like, yes, of course. I have to
Your
check this
evening
out.
is salvaged.
Yeah, it's
completely.
good. It's all good now. And it was a good day to start with, but it got better, right? And so so I went up and I had seen, and I bought this book, which I have here, which is The Sidekick. And this is proof that I bought it from you because you signed it for
Righteous.
me. So yeah, this is proof of it. Documentation.
And can I just say, Booster?
Yep.
What a heartbreaking way to start a comic.
Right.
Like in memory of
Right.
and just this beautiful dog. Like in memory
He
of
was.
Yeah.
He was my buddy. He was a great dog. I miss him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's very, very effective.
So what we're
very effective.
What we're talking about, and we'll link to this to your stuff online, obviously, when we put this up. But like, what we're talking about is a trade paperback, which is actually one of the reasons that I was like, I'm getting that.
Right.
Was because when you see local comics, a lot of times you'll see singles, you know. And you don't see a lot of trades, and so I saw this, and I had seen it in my comic shop,
Right.
and I was interested in it already, and so when I saw it at the street fair, and you were selling it, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, because you're more
yeah.
of a you're a consumer in the sense that you just gobble comics up.
Absolutely.
You're not as much as he's a collector, but not
Yeah.
as much of
Yeah.
a collector as just a give me a big stack of
Right.
you know, trade.
I'm the same way. I don't collect for the value of it. I
Right.
just collect to hoard them, basically. Like, oh, I want this one and this
Oh,
one.
for sure.
Yeah.
This one's only a quarter. I'll take
Yes,
that.
exactly. So yeah, there are a few key issues that I want. Like I'm really into Batman, so I wanted a couple of key issues, and I sort of don't care about the quality of them. You know what I mean?
Right,
I don't
right.
ever expect to resell them. And so if I can drop $5 on a comic book where, you know,
It's normally like
a near mint would be 85 or something, I'll go
Right.
with $5 one. So, but yeah, so needless to say, when I saw a trade, I was very excited. And I've read some local comics, and to be honest, I don't expect a whole lot when I come to a locally created comic.
Sure.
You know? But then I read this, and it was
This-
fantastic.
dude,
Yeah. This is
great stuff,
Very, very
quality
good.
stuff.
Yes. So yeah, just wanted to say that's a good segue. But
yeah. So so are you from here?
I am from Louisville. I live in southern Indiana now, but I was born and raised in Louisville, and
oh, cool.
I do everything over here as well.
Sure.
Nice.
Obviously, as
Yeah.
you saw me at the Highlands Fest. I do
Right. Exactly.
Many
Yeah.
things over here.
So I'm sure you've been probably a long time comic reader, right?
Oh yeah, since I was, ever since I remember, I've
Oh, cool.
had comic books
Yeah.
purchased for me. But
Yeah.
you know, I was 10 or 11. I started scraping up change to go and buy my own. So-
Yeah,
sure.
And that's where I first discovered the love of the quarter bin. And
Right.
back then, you could even a nickel and
Yeah.
10-cent issues from the 70s, which people didn't think was any value to them.
Right.
Right.
There probably still isn't, but
Yeah. That's what
Great stories, though. Right?
yeah. But you would get one of those quarter or 10-cent comics, and just you might like the cover or whatever, but then it might lead you into a whole world of I want to get the issue that
Absolutely.
came before this or the two
Yeah.
issues that came after this, and then kind of set you on a trail of
Yeah.
spending all kinds of money on
Yeah.
on a series.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's always that, and that's one thing that's kind of cool about buying, you know, like you're saying, sort of random issues out of a box is that you never know. Could be total crap, could totally suck, but at the same time, it's got that like hunting aspect to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get
Oh,
something,
yeah.
and you're like, oh, this is super good. I've got to find issue 472 to
Well, there's-
so I can find out what happens.
There's
or whatever.
definitely a difference too between like, okay, I'm going to go on eBay, get the set, and
Right.
then I have it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
Or okay, let's see, how many shops are within 10 miles of me right now?
Right.
How much time do I have?
And that's part of the fun, just the hunt.
Yeah. No,
There's
absolutely.
something American in that, you know,
It's true.
instilled in us the hunt for what we want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
It's at
gonna
that
go-
frontier of the long box.
Exactly.
You
Right.
know? So what did you like? You got into comics before you can even remember when you started to be 10 or 11. What were you reading? What captured you
Spider-Man.
early on? Spider-Man.
Nice.
Spider-Man was always my favorite. I don't know. I guess as I was younger, the visuals of it appealed to me.
Yeah.
But then as I got more to my teen years, I'm like, oh, he has problems like me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
he's a regular guy. You know, I couldn't really relate to Superman so well. I
Right.
mean,
That's the genius of Stan Lee, though.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
exactly. You know, all of his characters kind of had some flaw or issue they dealt with in their real life that you could relate to, and that was a big thing for me with Spider-Man because he was more relatable when he didn't have the mask on.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe you told me this, or maybe I read it on Reddit or something.
Yeah.
But someone, I think it was in a comment, someone said, DC heroes are heroes that want to be men, and Marvel heroes are men who want to be heroes.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah,
That's
good.
I think that's why, like, right now DC, like, on film is struggling because all their it's so hard to, like, relate to their characters.
Right.
They're all gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that really is true for a lot of DC. I love DC. And I love those characters,
absolutely.
but they're not identifiable until if you've got a good writer putting them in the right kind of situations.
Right.
But if you're just looking for a mediocre kind of story with some action in it, it's great. But
Right.
yeah, those characters are almost perfect.
Right.
In their
Yeah.
just in their basic setup of Hal Jordan's a fighter pilot
Yeah,
and he's got
right.
a magic ring, and then Superman's a reporter and he's everything else.
Superman pretends to be imperfect,
Right.
as
Right.
his secret identity, but in reality,
He's like, look,
you know.
no, honestly, I'm just like you. I'm clumsy, I'm stupid, but not in reality.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'd sort of heard something similar to that, but I hadn't even thought about like the setup. Like,
Sure.
I mean, you have Hal Jordan, and you have,
and honestly, I think that's why Batman is the most popular DC character, because he's honestly like, he's been crapped on. His parents were killed in front of him.
Right.
He just has to, really depend on his wits and his
billions of dollars. It's not all bad.
there's a link. There's a snag
true.
in the chain right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Aquaman's a prince or whatever
Right.
from under the sea.
Yeah, he's
and-
royalty. Wonder Woman, isn't she royalty?
Yeah.
I haven't read a lot
Dude,
of
I
Wonder
would
Wonder
say
Woman
your
was
most-
sculpted from clay. Man,
right.
By the gods.
Yeah.
I would
Something
say your
like
most relatable DC, main big recognizable character would be the Flash, I guess, because
yeah.
he was. I mean, he didn't have any great, asset in his personal life. I mean,
Yeah, I've always thought that the Flash felt more Marvel than DC anyway.
That's
I don't know if
interesting.
it's the colors or it may be just his disposition and
Yeah, well, I wonder if part of it too, like another thing that I think of when I think of the distinction between the two companies is like, to some extent, it's like DC almost focuses on mythology, as we were saying, right? Like, whereas it seems like Marvel is focused more on almost sci-fi. It's almost got a sci-fi vibe to it, right? It's gamma rays, or it's I don't even remember the name of the thing for the Fantastic Four, right?
it's just like cosmic rays or something. Like,
gamma
cosmic
rays, cosmic rays,
Vita rays, wasn't it? Was that it, or was it for Cap? I forget what it was. It was some sort of something.
Right.
That
Anyway.
might have been a Captain America thing.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Or just some gimmick from the early.
Yeah. Or even the super soldier serum,
20th
right?
century.
Even the super soldier serum
Yeah.
is like some sort of science fiction-y, thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, Wonder Woman is an Amazonian or something like that. But
And that's still, but even as strong and perfect as Cap is, like, it's still taking like someone who's physically weak,
Right.
and turning him into something more.
right. He had the experience of being real weak and all this stuff and
Right.
not being able to do anything. So, yeah, for sure. Well, and speaking of, relatability and things like that, I mean, you definitely seem to write from that sort of, I don't want to say more Marvel, because forget the dichotomy, but you write from more of these are people.
Yeah.
Right. Sort of first and foremost, at least with what I've read, and I've only read the Sidekick. So,
yeah, how recent of a book is the Sidekick?
I do the single issues, and then I put the first 4 issues in a trade.
Right.
I started in 2010. The first issue came out in 2010, and
Cool.
I was on a pretty good schedule for a while. Like every quarterly, I was putting an issue out. It's slowed down immensely.
Because
in the last couple years.
you write and pencil. Do you ink and color and all
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Dude,
one man show.
that's
amazing.
exhausting
Yeah.
sounding.
Yeah.
I'm so narcissistic that I have to do everything
Right.
myself.
Okay.
No, I would love to have someone else ink, my pencils, because I think it could bring something else, having someone else add a layer to your work,
Yeah.
and colors as well, because I don't.
A lot can happen in
specialize
those.
it. Exactly. I think if I had other people that could add their talents to that would be great. And I know a lot of people in town who are very talented in that way. I know some people in the Louisville Cartoonist Society who have a lot of talent, but I feel bad not paying people for the work, or just asking like, hey, this is a labor of love. It's my love. You probably don't love it. So would you like to contribute hours of your life to it?
I mean, what was that Reddit subreddit that we were looking at maybe a year ago?
Oh yeah.
It was basically, we've both dabbled in writing. I've dabbled in drawing, but for me, like, I don't have a great vision for the drawing. Like, I somewhat have the ability to make it look good, but it's more so like, if I want my character to jump a certain way, I dig through my box and look for like a Spider-Man comic and mock that, and then sculpt the things that way. But we were looking for people who are just trying to get into like the actual penciling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were willing to pay very little.
Very little. Yeah. I mean, we just wanted to do it for fun, obviously.
Right. But that seems to be the biggest hiccup in comic books where you're not working for one of the big bad companies, is that if you don't do it all yourself, I mean, no one's going to care about it as much as you do,
Yeah, no, that's very true. And there's a lot of artists out there who will, take a chance if you show them your script and they believe in it and say, hey, this is a great idea, this is awesome.
Yeah.
They might just join up with you and join forces.
Right.
And hoping it'll be something big. Yeah. But then a lot of guys who are trying to be professional artists will, like, this is a stepping stone for them to professional work. So they're kind of trying to get that ball rolling.
Absolutely.
You pay me for the work I do.
For sure, yeah.
So,
my impression, at least when we were kind of looking into that sort of stuff, and was that it's kind of a there's more demand than supply in terms of artists. Was the impression that I got. Like, a lot of writers out there.
I get that a lot. When people find out I draw, they don't necessarily know I write. They just see my art and I'm like, hey, I've got a story idea. I'm like, me too. A lot. I've got a lot of story ideas. So it is a supply and demand thing. Yeah. And I really think anybody can draw if it's just the amount of time that
That's
you
true.
devote yourself to learning. I mean, it's like any skill. I mean, I didn't fall out of the womb and pick up a pencil and say, oh, look at this page I drew, Mom. Cut the umbilical cord and then we'll get it to the printer.
Right.
But I think anybody can learn. It's just the amount of time. So, if there was more people just that would spend the time early, it probably helps earlier in life. It's easier to learn anything then. But but there is a supply and demand issue because people have a lot of good ideas. Yeah, it's just finding somebody that can do justice to that idea, because you don't necessarily, if you think you have a great idea, you don't necessarily want an artist who can't represent that idea to its fullest. You
probably have some picture of it in your mind already.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not something you're just going to say, okay, this guy I don't really know, like, work with me on this thing I really care about. It's one of those things where you probably have to develop relationships with people who can just really kind of sell out to what you're
for sure. So do you, like, when you think of yourself and your sort of creative identity, do you see yourself as one more than the other in terms of art or writing?
I mean, I definitely see myself as more of an artist.
Okay.
Even though I try to fantasize sometimes that I'm a genius writer and I can but I'm definitely more of an artist because I do a lot of painting and I sell prints at fairs and shows and things like that, and that's definitely more of the artist component. But I enjoy writing so much. You know, I mean, it's the thing about writing is you can come up with an idea and have a story kind of conceptualized in a few hours or a day, whereas drawing a story, it might lose momentum because it just takes so long to draw it. Writing, if you get on enough coffee in you and just kind of everything's clicking, you can write a good story or what you seems good after all the coffee at 3 in the morning. But you can crank it out pretty fast, and the ideas are flowing, and it goes faster, so everything kind of fits into place better. As when you're drawing, you might kind of lose that feeling for the idea you had after a while.
And that's a big kicker, is like, if you're in the big leagues, like if you're like Scott Snyder or somebody, like he's working on 5-6 titles a month.
Yeah.
Because he's writing the scripts.
Right.
But Capullo is drawing Batman and hoping to meet his deadline that whole month.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
but
point.
those are their jobs, so
Yeah,
they're getting
right.
paid to do that. So if you're a comic book writer and it's your love, just pop out a bunch of scripts because it's fun, it's quick.
Yeah.
If you're drawing a book and you're not seeing any kind of not even compensation, but like any kind of quick reward
Sure.
for that,
Yeah.
you can pop out a script in a day if you wanted to, and go back and read it, show it to someone, and everything is it's a quick feeling. That dopamine can hit pretty quick when someone
right.
says this is really good.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to pump out like 22 pages in a book.
Right.
22 days later.
Sure.
Like, what do you think about this? Oh, that's good. I don't think it's good anymore.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It like my art has changed, I feel, over the last 5 years a lot, where I look at some of the the older work I've done and it kind of makes me cringe.
Sure.
I'm like, who drew this?
Right.
But you get better, and I think that's the same as a writer too, because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it is, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a skill as well.
Yeah.
So it's something you improve on, and then you can look back fondly, on the old stuff. But
Yeah.
you definitely, it's a learning experience, and but it is cool if you can write a bunch and kind of have those scripts on the shelves, and then
Yeah.
even revisit them later and maybe
Right.
refine them a little bit if you do find an artist that
Yeah.
you could be sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're, just to jump back, you're reading Spider-Man. Whose Spider-Man do you sort of get into? What sort of era are we talking about when you're finding these singles that you're buying when you're young?
It was, I can't even. I think it was mostly like John Romita.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Drawing the older, the 70s, I can't remember who was writing it. Really, I don't know
Yeah.
who was writing it that period.
Well, and when you're young, you're not into it for that reason
Right.
anyway.
Well,
no,
right? I mean,
exactly. You're into it for the character.
Yeah.
You
Right.
don't start. I didn't start noticing artists and writers until later in my teen years. Where it's
Right.
like, oh, this artist is awesome. Everything kind of looked the same when I was younger. It's
sure.
like,
Yeah.
And that's interesting because, my dad got me into comics. He's been collecting comics since he was, a tot. And when we go to the comic shop, I'm personally looking for my favorite writers or my
Right.
favorite artists. He's looking for his favorite characters.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was probably pretty recent for you to be considered like a rock star in comic books. You know what I mean? Like even in the 90s, like that, no one got credits on the cover. It wasn't until
They did that some, didn't they?
Some in the 90s.
I think so. I think they did.
well, I think it pretty much started in the 90s with
Okay.
the whole
Like the-
image,
like the Jim
right,
Lee
right, right.
movement to image.
Right.
When I guess it was late 80s, early 90s, when all those creators just kind of those artists at the same time just kind of
Yeah.
took art to a different level and kind of put their style into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, it was your style had to conform to
Oh, yeah.
the Marvel style or
Right.
the DC style. And then you had these few artists like Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane
Right.
or Silvestri and all these guys who just kind of did their style,
Yeah.
where I don't know if they came from an illustrative background or
Sure.
just started, hey, this is the way I want to draw,
Right.
not conform my style.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
McFarlane was the first person to draw Spider-Man like actually contorting like
Yeah.
a spider. He wasn't just a guy in a suit anymore. He was this like, the stuff you can't do
the
with your body.
McFarlane, like, yeah.
He is the reason I wanted to draw comics.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Tom
I
McFarlane?
I drew
Cool.
comics before them because I love the characters.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
just draw the characters, me and my friends. But
Yeah.
when I saw the cover of one of his, I'd kind of gotten out of comics, as a kid, and then
Yeah.
I saw one of his Spider-Man incarnations on the
Yeah.
cover, and I was like, "What's
Plus,
this?"
the
Yeah, for
way
sure.
he drew
sure.
Spider-Man's web, like I'm sure killed every artist after
Yeah,
him
the little,
because
like-
it's so detailed.
Yeah, it's still
you know what I mean.
Yeah, that basic design is still kind of used by most of the guys who draw it now.
It's
you
like
know?
the straight lines and then the little circles around it
Squiggles.
occasionally or whatever
Yeah.
it is. I don't
Whereas
know.
it used to just be kind of a checkered
Right.
webbing, a
Yeah.
thin line and
Yeah.
cross-hatched.
Yeah, I
Yeah, for
remember
sure.
when I was probably 12 or 13, I was I would trace McFarlane's Spider-Man
Oh, cool. Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was a big fan of, I'm sorry to say, Scarlet Spider, the Ben Reilly Chronicles, because
Right.
I didn't know any
All
better.
right.
the sleeveless hoodie,
The
Spider-Man.
sleeveless hoodie. Yeah, I was actually at a convention recently, and I saw a Scarlet Spider walking around.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It was pretty crude. I mean, he just took the right color hoodie and he cut but that's pretty much what it looked like.
Yeah.
So I guess that
was
works.
it.
But
That's cool. So like you're reading Spider-Man early on, and then maybe you get out of it for a little while, and then Todd McFarlane is really the
That's
sort of thing
that's
that
the
brought you
first
back in?
time I realized that different people drew
Yeah.
the book. You just kind of
Right.
I knew Jack Kirby.
Right.
I
Yeah.
knew that was stylistically very different from a lot of
Yeah.
other comic artists, but
Yeah.
McFarlane just kind of made me realize that an artist can draw different styles and put their own interpretation
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
a character, and it doesn't all have to look like it's cookie cutter, and
Right.
you take a course to draw a comic book that
Yeah.
Right.
illustrates
Did
how
you
to do it.
start sort of getting more seriously into it at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Cool. When like how old were you when that started?
I was 15,
Okay.
and from that point I just kind of started making my own comics out of sketch pads, just
Nice.
spiral bound. I would
Yeah.
just make a whole comic out of that old sketch pad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Looked terrible, but it was fun.
yeah,
Well, like you say, you got to start somewhere, right? You don't come out drawing pages like you are now. But so were you doing like Spider-Man comics, like just your own?
No,
or
it
were you
was
doing,
all.
like,
I never really had as much desire to draw other people's
okay.
characters. I wanted to tell my own stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like even before that, when I was 10 years old, me and my friends would create our own characters, and we didn't have comics, but we would draw them and imagine the stories that they would find themselves in. But yeah, I enjoy telling original stories more than taking someone else's idea and kind of following a template for that. I like to make my own little playground.
yeah. And for me, like that's if I were to aspire to get into comic writing, like that would be the thing that really tickled my fancy. Getting to a point where I'd make my own characters and people would actually be interested.
Right.
And then you have people. I don't know if you know who Max Bemis is.
Yep.
He has scratched the surface of some hero books. Like he wrote some.
He did
for
some Marvel stuff, right? Didn't he?
It was one of those books where it's like the what if kind of
Right.
Marvel books.
Right.
He got to write like
Like
the Doc Ock Spider-Man where
Okay.
he was
Superior?
Superior, I
Yeah.
guess,
Uh-huh.
and another character together, but it was a single issue. And I know
Okay.
he does a lot of creator-owned stuff that is decently popular, especially considering his following with his band.
Yeah.
But he says his main dream in life is to write for his favorite, hero books.
Right.
Like he wants to,
He wants to write the characters he grew up reading.
yeah,
and
he
stuff,
wants to write X-Men, Spider-Man, whoever that may be. And it's interesting because, he has gotten to a place where he has his own characters,
Right.
but he wants the flip of that. He wants to walk among the gods like of the Jim Lees
Right.
and I don't know.
I mean, that would be a logical challenge. I mean,
Yeah.
if you've kind of created something to where you see that people
Yeah.
are interested in it, it's maybe a challenge to take this iconic character and
Yeah.
put your stamp on it that maybe makes people look at it in a way they haven't looked at that character
Yeah.
before.
Right.
Try to find something new.
Hence
Yeah.
Frank
Yeah.
Miller and Batman, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Sure.
Like the dark, Batman Year One, Dark Knight
Yeah.
Returns. Those were those wild card stories that
Yeah.
completely changed the character.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people take cracks at Superman trying to do that too, and you just kind of get gimmicks a lot of time.
Right.
Like,
Right.
the big idea is to kill Superman or
Right.
split
Yeah.
him into two people or
Yeah.
four people or
Yeah. It's not all Dark Knight Returns.
exactly.
Not every idea
Exactly.
is fantastic. Yeah. So do you, at this point, you know, in a world where the planets align and some big company comes to you and says, hey, we want you to write this already established character. I mean, aside from maybe you want to do that because it's great for your career or whatever, do you have a desire to do that? Or
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay, cool.
Well, I mean, it would be a paycheck.
Well, right.
So,
but, I mean, aside from that, you know, if you're, let's say you're getting the same pay doing your characters and doing some
it would definitely be
thing.
fun. I mean, to
sure.
take those characters you grew up with and kind of play with them and, you know, take them in a direction that, you know, maybe you always kind of envisioned they should go in, but nobody ever seemed to nudge them in that way.
It
would be fun. Yeah. I would definitely do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of an undeniably cool thing to say.
Yeah.
that you worked in that.
I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, who would say no to that? I'm sure, right?
Right.
But yeah.
Well, Kevin Smith almost said no when he was offered Daredevil.
Oh, right.
Marvel Knights Daredevil. Do you know much about that run, Kevin Smith's first run?
Not a lot. I've read his Green Arrow.
Oh yeah, that was
Quiver.
good.
I read his Green Arrow run, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, he did.
No spoilers. I haven't read the Daredevil one yet, so
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
I know some
Okay.
things that happened. But anyway.
so you know, Joe Quesada just got some power at Marvel. I guess this was probably late '90s.
I think so. Yeah, it would have been after he made some movies.
Marvel wasn't doing as well at this point as DC. I don't
right.
think. So he basically asked for 4 titles. He wanted Daredevil, he wanted Punisher, and 2 others, and they were going to call it Marvel Knights. And he's like, the thing I want to do with Daredevil, I want to bring a hot movie writer in to write one of our books.
Oh, right.
And that's going to be our flagship Marvel Knights book, and that's Kevin Smith. And Kevin Smith, huge comic book fan, said, absolutely, of course I'll do that. Well, Joe Quesada started to, you know, they had everything lined up and they were waiting for the first script, just waiting and waiting and waiting. And eventually it was like to the point where they had to have a script. And Kevin Smith calls him up and he's like, dude, it's just Frank Miller wrote Daredevil, dude. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Just too much pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
And Jimmy Palmiotti, who was Quesada's partner in Marvel Knights, calls up Kevin and says, how can you do this to your friend? He believed in you. He he trusted you. He did all that work for Chasing Amy or whatever. And then Kevin, the next day, Kevin said,
right.
All right, I'll do it. I'll have a script to you as soon as possible. And it's a great run. I mean, it's very Kevin Smithy.
Yeah.
But it's a great run.
Yeah.
Why were we talking about that?
Just whether you would want to write a character, like an established character. Was that led into that?
I think there was like
kind of one of your childhood dream characters, something like that, something you grew up reading.
Yeah. So when so as you're saying, you know, we've talked about sort of how you can have a story in a day and a half, whereas penciling a book is going to take a long time. I don't even know how long because I can't draw at all. But like how long
for you? It might take
for me. It
a
would
little
take,
longer.
It would take, yeah, I would be I'd be 65 and I'd be done with issue 1. But yeah, so when you're writing and you're drawing your own comics, you know, early on and stuff, how long had you been sitting with? Because you have Resnick, right, who is the sort of lead character in the Sidekick. How long had you been kicking around these characters in this world before you went like, that's the one I'm going to put the work into and get going?
I mean, in some incarnation, Tim Resnick, the Blue Badger, has been around since I was 10 years old.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
He
that
had
is cool.
a character called the Blue Panther.
Yeah.
Which he was kind of like an anti-hero. You know, he wore like sweatpants and a T-shirt. You know,
Right.
He just wasn't all into the costume and everything.
Yeah.
But then, you know, maybe 15 years ago, I was kicking around another idea with that character, and he had changed name to the Blue Bowman.
Okay.
He had an arrow-based
Nice.
hero, and I'm like, that's a little too stupid since that's my last name.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, that's based on you, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah.
And it just kind of evolved. I mean, that character has always been in my mind as kind of a character who's kind of he's got everything that he needs to be a hero, but he just can't put it all together. He just something in his brain just makes him fail and kind of abandon where he really needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know when this opens, so this is issues 1 through 4, right, that are collected in the Sidekick. And so I know when it opens, he's wanting this sort of, he's been a sidekick for a long time, right?
Yeah, he's in his 30s now, and he's still a teenage sidekick.
Right.
Basically, just hasn't, he's just gotten comfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much comfortable where he's happy with his life, but
Yeah.
he's not taking any step to be his own person.
Right. Not super ambitious toward that next hero.
No, he's
place.
had I feel like when he gets to a certain place where he's about to do it,
Yeah.
he's had a setback. Like he's been divorced.
Right.
He's living back home with his parents, and he's just a regular guy.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, that's one thing I really liked about this book is that you've got this nice mix of, I don't know, not tongue in cheek, but it's like they're regular people while at the same time all this stuff is just normal for them. They're like, yeah, of course there are heroes. It's like, yes, of course. And his buddy, I forget his buddy's name with the eye patch.
Killbear.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Theodore K. Bears.
That's right. That's right. Who's a super villain, right?
Yeah.
Or says that at least, pays lip service to it.
Yeah.
Here's my question.
That's what he believes.
Yeah.
Like this is all I've read. Was this an ongoing thing?
It is ongoing. I have issues. I'm working on issue 8. So
cool.
5, 6, and 7 are out.
Yeah.
The next 4 issues is Ruthless Villains, which focuses on Killbear and his little group that he gathers together to destroy the world.
Oh, do you ever cover his? Because he was a teenage sidekick, right? At the beginning of the story.
Oh, right.
Do you ever cover that change? Or is it
in
just
my mind? I do. I mean, I've got the whole story kind of laid out, which I want to do. How Killbear Ted makes that transition. I would like to do that in a manga form, actually, just black and white. Like the smaller format.
Yeah.
Just kind of take it back to those years where he, some things happened where kind of set him on that path where he just kind of gave up. Being who he was.
That's interesting, yeah.
But I love the nonchalant nature of, their relationship because like he's a, he's a super villain.
He's a super villain, yeah.
Everyone knows this, but they still like hang out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably because nobody takes him seriously as
right.
a menacing supervillain.
Yeah. Doesn't he work at a burger place?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
For the insurance.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
Good. Yeah.
There's definitely this may not have influenced you at all, but I feel like Mark Millar, there's like a kind of something running there.
Well, I thought The Boys was an amazing series. Well, that was Garth Ennis. That was still an amazing series.
Yeah.
And that kind of plays into a story arc that I've got down the road.
Oh, cool.
But Mark Millar's with Kick-Ass, and he's a great writer.
Yeah.
Anything he's done, and his dialogue kind of rings true too, which is a big thing for me with modern writers, and they've gotten so much better at incorporating dialogue that you use in your daily life,
Absolutely.
and which is a big thing that I want to use. So all those writers like that, and even like Brian Michael Bendis, I think is great too. So a lot of those guys are big inspirations in that they've kind of taken, beware evildoer,
exactly.
I will stop you.
Yeah.
That kind of dialogue to making it something more.
You're not
real.
You're not relying on the fact that it's a superhero book.
Right.
Like, there's a lot. I think if you take the art away, you can get like the way books are written now. Like you can get away with what you're saying, whereas back then you take the art away, you don't have that those two things playing off each other. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I want crazy, dialogue that you might have with your friends and just talk with each other in a way that seems real. I want that for the characters, but I don't want to draw that. I don't want to draw two people just, sitting at the coffee shop talking about, a very Tarantino-esque kind of witty scene. I mean, that's enjoyable in a movie, but for a comic, you need to have more eye candy,
Yeah.
So, that being set in a superhero environment, you can draw all kinds of crazy stuff and strange characters, but still have that interaction, that dialogue that you kind of recognize in your life.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that's cool that made me really enjoy this book, and again, this is not to knock any local comics creators. I don't mean local Louisville. I just mean small-time comics creators. Let's name them. But I've read some that you're like, I'm not saying I could do any better. I couldn't. But at the same time, it's like, oh, that doesn't ring true, or this dialogue doesn't work, or whatever. One thing I really liked about this book and was that, I can hear all these things being said, and it flows. You know what I mean? It flows back and forth. It's like, oh, yes, of course, you can sort of hear the inflection that it's said with, or whatever. You know what I mean? In your imagination. So, yeah, that's really cool. But at the same time, it's these colorful characters that are doing these crazy things.
I want regular people kind of doing outlandish things.
Yeah.
Which, you can have the satisfaction of you're in touch with the characters and you kind of feel something for them and you feel like, oh, that's exactly like me and my friends. And at the same time, they're fighting a giant robot, which may not be exactly like what you and your friends would do. So.
Yeah, it's like the thing that's fictional or that's fantastic about the world is just that there are things like giant robots. It's not how people interact with each other or like how people react or talk or anything like that. Yeah, very cool. Absolutely. So, I've seen issue 7. What's the story arc that's happening right now that you've got going on?
It's called Ruthless Villains, and Killbear is he's teamed up with one of the minor characters in the first 4 issues.
Okay.
Baron Von Savage, who's another kind of...
Is he the...
Yeah. He looks like Batroc the Leaper and a few other old school kind of villains, kind of the Wizard and maybe some others kind of mashed together.
Yeah.
That kind of
full like
weird
purple
style.
suit.
Yeah, purple suit. And he's just kind of a bitter man who wants to destroy the world too. And they've kind of teamed forces along with Deathbot 2000. And Killbear actually breaks a couple of the guys who were in like one of the opening scenes from the Sidekick out of jail, Midnight Train and the Botanist to help him. And there's some characters that pop up from the first 4 issues.
Yeah.
So I want them to be standalone stories where you can enjoy those 4 issues, but it's a whole universe tied together too. Yeah. So some things popping up here and there that you would know if you read the other issues. But anyway, they've kind of made a plan to destroy the moon with a death ray.
Yeah.
But then another badder villain kind of steps up and they have to stop him from actually truly destroying the world.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So actually that was one of the pieces of dialogue that I loved in this book. And I forget exactly what it was. I can look it up and I can find it in here. But it's when he's asking... They're talking.
Oh, when they're on the couch.
They're on the couch. They're talking about the death ray, I guess, right? Yeah.
That's a great scene.
That dialogue's really hilarious.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah. Well, I'll look for it. I don't mean to stop things dead in the tracks, but yeah, is that at the?
It's in the last. It'll be toward the end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right before the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're sitting on the couch. It's after he's sort of been defeated, I think.
Yeah, because I think the other heroes have kind of left to go stop the bad guy, and they're kind of Killbear's kind of babysitting the.
Yeah.
One villain is babysitting the other villain in the teenage sidekick headquarters.
Yeah,
which is an odd.
Which is maybe not the best idea, but yeah.
I think that just speaks to how much of a threat they don't see him as a villain is. Yeah, he can hang around. It's fine.
Right. I mean, he even goes to the...
he's just like your creepy uncle. He's not really going to do anything bad. He just kind of sits there and...
Yeah. He talks about it a lot. Yeah. But, yeah. But anyway, I can't find it offhand for some reason, but I'll keep looking.
So, I've heard Brian Michael Bendis talk a little bit about... I think he does like some teaching. Like he teaches comic writing somewhere.
I think at one of the universities in Portland. I think he's from Portland.
So I think so. I think
it's
you're
around there.
And something interesting he said that I never really thought about because I've tried to write some comics and I've tried to write some like screenplays and stuff like that. Like I'm into film and stuff as well. But the thing about learning to write for film is that there's a very specific way you go about writing a Western style script. Mm-hmm. You have your first act, you have your second act, you have your third act. And within those, there are certain inciting incident, and all of these little things that if you want a blockbuster, you follow it to a T,
Right.
and you put your own spin on it. Well, in comics, it's not necessarily like that, right?
I have no rhyme or reason to how the story comes about. A lot of times I'll just think of a scene in my head. I'm like, that needs to be in there somewhere, and then I have to find a way to incorporate that scene into the story. Whereas sometimes the story just kind of, I'm along for the ride. It just kind of falls into place naturally, and I've got a whole issue. I'm like, well, that made sense. Everything happened rationally from one step to the other, and then sometimes I come to a block where, I don't know if the format is correct or not, but I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell this part. I'm going to have to put in a flashback or, some cheating way of getting it in there.
You go back and you kind of force the pieces together how they should go.
You got to hammer it in sometimes. They just don't fit.
But that's what's interesting about the comic format, because, you're writing single issues, and in for example, modern TV, if you're looking at a show like, for example, Daredevil that just came out, the format in which they write, they don't have those false
Jeopardy.
The false, like on a show like Arrow, for example, they're built-in false jeopardies before commercial breaks, right?
Right.
To make you come back to those commercial breaks. And for the most part, a show with like 20-something odd episodes is going to have kind of villain of the week stuff.
Yeah.
There's going to be arcs within episodes, that kind of thing. And then, but a show like Daredevil comes around where they release them all together. You don't necessarily need an arc every episode. It's like a big long movie.
Right.
But to relate that to comics, like, if you had like a very sculpted, closed off arc every issue, then your trade wouldn't make sense, right?
Right.
So your overall arcing story wouldn't make sense. So I guess you already answered it, but like a challenge for me would be, how do I make sense of, so you have 4 issues in an arc, right?
Yes.
So how do you make sense of how that story as a whole works when you're writing it singles? You know what I mean? Is that something you kind of piece together before you even start on the first issue?
Yeah, I kind of have a beginning and end point of, I obviously know where it's going to start at. It's where, the other one left off, or is issue 1. I just had this, where it needs to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my mind, I think of, where do I want these characters to be at the end of this 4-issue story arc, and then I have to kind of wrangle everything into that and maneuver it to that spot. And like some of the characters go naturally to that spot, and some I have to kind of move in a direction like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why would they be doing this, and why would they be here? So, maybe another character has to change what they're doing. So
sure. As I was reading this, like I wasn't sure if they were singles first or if you wrote in like the graphic novel format.
No, I do singles because I love single issue comics.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up buying. I love to have,
there's something magic about it.
A single issue comic in my hand. So I still make very small runs of the single issues because people just don't buy them that much, because you're not, you don't know if you're getting a whole story in this issue, or if you're going to need to buy the next one, and you might not like this one. You don't want to buy a next one. So a lot of people shy away from buying single issues, and trade paperbacks are such a huge part of comics now. I mean, comics are almost written
for that
4 or 6 issue story
They're
arcs.
almost releasing everything
to be put in a trade. And the trades come out like 2 weeks after they finish that last issue in that story arc, and then the trade's hitting the shelf.
Well, with your trade, the Sidekick trade, it did feel, for the most part, seamless, because I didn't know that I was reading 4 separate issues in a row.
Right.
So it felt very singular, I guess. Is there any kind of editing you have to do to make that work, or is it just you take what you had, plop them together, and
the double page spread, as far as, from a logistics editing standpoint, is a nightmare when you're doing a trade. I don't know how, because there's so many double page spreads in comics now. needlessly, but I won't get off on a tangent. But
Right.
there's double page spreads of just panels. It's not like a huge action scene. It's just a double page spread and they've laid it out in panels going from this way, and you don't know which way to read. Anyway,
Yeah, there's an art form to laying that out.
So I don't know how they do all these trades with so many double page spreads. It's amazing that they work that in there. But that's a huge thing when I was putting the trade together. And also, when I wrote the single issues, I just kind of try to have a logical stopping point for that issue where it might be a cliffhanger, or it might just be a good stopping place where you're kind of wondering what's going to go next, but it's not necessarily somebody's about to die, but it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I really liked that. I really liked that you included the singles covers at the end. I thought that was really cool. Because I don't have any of the singles, and
it was at the end. After I read through it, I was like, "Oh, so these are."
And also the variant's really cool as well. I was geeking out on that. I was like, "That's so cool."
Yeah, Genevieve Brumal. She's an artist. She used to live in town.
Okay.
She's moved away since with her family, but she actually does a lot of work for Big Dog Inc.
Oh, okay.
Company, and she's awesome at drawing beautiful women. And I kind of said, "Hey, do you want to do a variant cover?" She's like, "Yeah, totally." So
that's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So do you, and this is just a question for me personally, do you have a place where you're selling back issues? Because I've seen issue number 7, and I haven't been getting it yet because I want to get 5 and 6 with it.
I can get them for you.
Okay.
I think Great Escape carries... they might have some back issues left.
Maybe they have some. Yeah, I just haven't found them.
But also, they're listed on IndiePlanet.com.
Okay.
Since I print through Kablam, and that's their...
Yeah.
Anything you have printed there, you can list on IndiePlanet and order it. But I think I have most of the back issues still. I think I'm running short on maybe 3.
Okay, cool. Have you messed with digital at all or done anything with that?
I have sold digital copies of it.
Yeah.
I know digital's a huge thing now. I did a Kickstarter for to get the trade basically put together in an initial print run made. So
cool.
Digital copies was one of the offerings on there.
Yeah,
which was pretty well received. But I don't like digital that much. So
I have trouble with it.
I haven't made the switch yet. I don't have a.
If I'm reading like on an iPad or something, certain like Comixology, for example, if whenever they offer free issues, I'll grab them, just to try out different stories.
Right.
And it's the thing I like about digital is that it's made to where as you tap the screen, it goes panel by panel.
Right.
And sometimes it'll show you part of a panel and then reveal the rest of it.
Right.
Those moments in comics where there's a big ta-da moment, and it's like on the second page of instead of the flip,
and you're just trying to force your eyes not to go over there.
And I can't help it. I just can't. That's what's happening. How do we get there? I mean, those kind of reveals are salvaged in digital, but for me, it's like there's something about the feel of the paper,
exactly,
the smell of the paper,
absolutely.
Even.
The experience of going and picking it up at a shop,
right?
You know what I mean? I mean, I buy trades online. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, like I enjoy it more if I've gone to a local location and bought the book. Honestly,
I mean, if you're a hoarder, you want.
Yeah.
You want stacks of things in your house.
You don't want just a bunch of hard drives.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Hoard hard drives, no.
Yeah. I mean, I know paper burns, but that feels so much more fragile to me, having like digital copies of all this stuff. It does. I mean, it seems cool if you just want to like the Marvel service that they have where you can just gorge yourself on these really old comics, whatever. It's like the Netflix model or whatever, where you can just burn through 1960s.
Now, I recently heard that I didn't just hear it, I discovered it. The Marvel subscription Netflix style, what's it called? Marvel
Unlimited?
Yeah,
I think
is not unlimited at all.
What do you mean?
It's very like the titles they have is pretty limited.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I knew it was like nothing newer than 6 months old is on there. But I thought other than that, it was just free reign all of Marvel or something.
I was about to do the free subscription and then just jump in.
Right.
But I was looking for like a few specific titles that I wanted to read. Like, for example, I'd never read any Jessica Jones, so I wanted to dig into Alias because I've heard so much good about Alias. And nope.
Really?
Not on there.
That's surprising.
They have like something like 6,000 titles.
Huh. I mean, that's a lot, but yeah.
But I'm assuming like it creating a digital comic. I mean, that's a process, right?
I mean, I guess
especially
it's not just like a PDF. I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's unlimited to the point of everything they've scanned in so far.
Right.
Added
Probably
to the database.
Unlimited to like people who want to read like Marvel Now and the classics and stuff like that.
Right.
But
More obscure stuff might not be on
I just want to get prepared for like the next
Right.
Netflix thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess I just go to the Great Escape and start digging.
Yeah, start digging. So yeah, I need to find. I definitely need to get. I'll be in touch and get 5 and 6, and then I can find 7 because I know they've got it displayed down there. So where all are you available here in Louisville? Like, where can people get Astounding Tales?
Really, right now is pretty much Great Escape. I have had issues at Comic Book World.
Okay.
I don't think I've had the last couple there.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started putting the comics out, I took them everywhere around the city. You know, the Air Ecstasy and Carmichael's and different places like that. But I just they didn't seem like they were selling in those locations, so I pretty much stick with a couple of the comic book shops who want to promote local comic books. Some of the places like they'll support local to the fact that they'll place in their shop, but it's not really people don't go there looking for that, and they're not promoting it as something that is relevant to their business.
It's just kind of there with everything else or something. Yeah,
and it's cool that they're willing to put it in there. And
sure,
a lot of places in Louisville are great like that, but if it's just going to sit there on the shelf, it's it's not finding a good home.
Sure, right. You want to meet the demand that's there for sure.
And you really have to. It's just like anything. I mean, you have to find the market that works.
Right.
Yeah.
The marketplace that works. And so these kind of like festival kind of market outdoorsy kind of things, are those things they work for you?
They work much better for like the prints that I do.
I gotcha.
Some original paintings, things like that. But I do have a lot of people buying the comics as well. Sure. But the other type of art goes a lot better at those, local street fairs and things.
It doesn't take like a comic book person, to want just good art.
Yeah, and even at comic book specific shows like Derby City Comic Con and different shows like that I do, the prints are also the biggest seller because it's just a piece of art that people can have right there, and they might not necessarily be into comics so much. They're there for just collectibles and things like cosplay.
Yeah. So do you do many like when you're doing a convention or whatever? Will you do? I don't even know what the word I'm trying to say is. Where people request like a particular character. Commissions.
Yeah. I do commissions.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'll pick up a couple at a show. It's usually pretty. Adventure Time or Game of Thrones is a big one. Right. Things like that.
I was going to say we recently, it's not a good word. Last year sometime.
That's recent.
It was when
it's recent enough.
When we went to Great Escape and Neil Adams was in town.
All right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
When I went up to meet the guy, he was doing a Hunger Games commission.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right there. Like I mean, Hunger Games. Neil Adams drawing Hunger Games. He's just...
Don't draw Batman, Neil. Don't draw Batman.
Yeah. I have the ability to draw people. What would you like me to... Like, at that point, it's
Hunger
like,
Games.
This guy, like this legend of a creator is drawing... J-Law for a little girl.
Right.
That's interesting.
I feel like I want a Neil Adams commission of Neil Adams. I feel like that would be great. Just his face. That'd be good.
Probably with like some dialogue, just some really snarky
thing,
because he does
something about how awesome he is. Sorry. calling you out, Neil.
Yeah.
Regular listener, I'm sure.
Yep. Oh, he loves it.
I hear he's a wonderful man.
Right.
He's always tweeting in.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there anything else you're working on other than the hero books?
I mean, there's so many things in my head that I would. I tell myself I'm working on, but there's not actually anything being produced.
Have you done any just scripts like we were talking about earlier? Scripts that you've just kind of. You probably didn't put them on the shelf. You probably just saved them in a folder in your computer.
Yeah.
Anything like that?
Yeah, there has been. There was a Western that I'd like to do because I love Western, old Westerns as far as, a cinematic type experience where, I think they're beautiful, especially like some of the spaghetti Westerns. Just
absolutely.
The way they're filmed is amazing as far as translating to art, I think. So I'd love to do that. I actually just did a story that had kind of rattled around in my brain for a long time. I'm like, I'm gonna do a whole book of this. But I just realistically, I'll never have time for that probably. Right. So I did like a four page story.
Oh, cool.
For a Louisville Cartoonist Society anthology that's about to come out next month.
Nice.
Very cool.
It's a fantasy based story where it's called The Minstrel, and the main hero is, he plays music.
Yeah.
And this whole world is based on every tribe, ogres or dwarves or elves, two different kinds of elves.
Yeah.
They're all specific to a different type of music that they listen to, and that kind of separates everybody, and you can't intermingle other types of music with your tribe's music. So the story is basically, him trying to, gather a band of heroes from each tribe to form this band that will unite.
Create some harmony, man.
Unite
That's cool.
This Earth that it's not a Middle Earth, but whatever Earth that they're in,
whatever level.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah. What? Do you know the name of the anthology that's coming out?
It's Tall Tales and Little Lies.
Okay.
Awesome. They just finished up the Kickstarter last month, and that was wildly, successful beyond our hopes.
Yeah.
For that, so. It's getting ready to be sent off to the printer this week, and it'll be in shops in Louisville.
Very cool.
Next month, and at Derby City Comic Con, I think is where we'll have it for sale locally for the first time.
Awesome. Yeah, we plan on attending.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good show.
Absolutely,
it's fun.
Tell us a little bit about Louisville Cartoonist Society. How'd you get involved with them, or what do you all do?
I met them about 5 years ago. It was just a couple months before my first issue had come out, and
cool.
I'd saw Story in the Velocity with some of the members there, and they were relatively new at that point, and went to an event that they had done at the Spot 5 art studio with some of their art, and talked to them, and then went to a meeting, and just kind of made some good friends, and it really kind of amazed me because my whole life I grew up in this area, and I never really knew other people who wanted to make comics. I thought they must all be in New York because they're not here. Nobody wants to make comics here. Right. But then I started meeting, all of these people in the area who are really talented and want to do the same thing that I want to do. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome that there's a community that can.
Sure, and that that was a question I had: is if there was a community for creators. I know there's a big comic book community in general, but I mean, just like
fans and stuff. Yeah,
right. The fans are there. Sure.
Yeah.
But
no, and even I know a lot of people who aren't in the Louisville Cartoon Society who are great artists and doing their own thing, and it's awesome. I mean, there's even outside of comics, there's a really cool art scene in Louisville. It's really kind of blown up in the last few years. It's just kind of hitting its stride.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So do you have any, I want to make sure we plug your stuff.
Okay.
So where can people find you or check you out? I've seen your Instagram. I know you got awesome pictures coming out.
Yeah.
Pretty often. So
that's Instagram at Steven Bowman.
Cool.
Twitter at the Steven Bowman.
Nice.
AstoundingTalesComics.com. Those are the big ones.
Very cool.
Yep.
Cool. Do you have any conventions you're going to be at coming up, or the shows coming up, or anything like that?
This weekend, I'll be in Kansas City for Spectrum Fantastic Art Live.
Cool.
Which is a really awesome show, and not a whole lot of people go to it, but it's primarily a lot of fantasy artists.
Okay.
And it's a lot of fun, and a lot of really awesome artists are there.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks from this weekend, I'll be in New York for NYC Special Edition.
Okay.
Which is, it's done by the same folks who do the New York Comic Con and C2E2.
Cool. Right.
But it's a very kind of boiled down comic book specific show.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Whereas, the other ones are kind of a whole
sort of
media
event,
pop
culture-y.
And this is, Saturday and Sunday, and it's just focused on comic books.
Yeah. And what are the dates on that?
That is, I want to say June 6th and 7th.
Okay.
It's the first weekend in June.
Okay, cool.
I think that's
awesome.
I think the 6th is a Saturday. So.
Yeah,
right.
6th and 7th, I believe.
Cool.
And then after that, local show, Derby City Con. I think that's the 20th and 21st at the Convention Center in downtown Louisville.
Cool.
We should do a live cast.
We need to do something for that, because we've talked to several people who are going to be involved with that, and so just so many cool, creative local people.
And we're actually getting ready to do, hopefully in the next few weeks, another cosplay centric. I don't know if last year the Cosplay 101 panel at Derby City. It was Rebecca, Amanda, and I haven't met the other girl. But they did the panel there, and we've had Rebecca on as Bubbles Galore as her cosplay name. Yeah. And I think Amanda is going to be on in the next few weeks sometime.
Yeah, awesome.
Leading up to Derby City. So
yeah, for sure. And we've been in talks with some other people who I won't say their name until we get the show recorded, just in case. But
you never know.
You never know. I don't want to lead people astray.
We haven't recorded the show.
We haven't recorded it, so who knows? Who knows what'll happen? A meteor could hit the Earth.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Neil Adams, I think it was.
What's that?
Neil Adams was going to be on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, we were going to have him on, but then he heard me bad talking him, so I don't think he's going to do it anymore. So I got to read this before we close up, because this is fun. This is the dialogue that I was talking about that is hilarious. And can you set this up a little bit? This is the scene where they're both on the couch talking about the death ray. Right.
Well, they're trying to stop this villain who's who's targeted teenage sidekicks, and I think Miss Fist has went out and kind of smashed up Baron Von Savage, and they've kind of captured him to interrogate him. But they're just kind of, he's not the guy. He's not the one killing people, and he's harmless for all intents and purposes, just because he's Baron Von Savage. Yeah, he's kind of futile.
Yeah.
So him and Killbear are sitting on the couch while the others have gone away to, do something heroic, and they're just having a dialogue between two villains, talking shop.
Right. It's awesome. And then Killbear says, "Hey, let me ask you a question. You're building the death ray, right?" And he says, "Yes." And he said, "What are you using for a particle dissipator?" He says, "I acquired banium centrifuge from an exiled Eastern Bloc scientist. I think it'll work. However, I'm having difficulty finding a suitable antimatter catalyst to initiate a gamma bath that won't rip a hole in space-time." And he goes, "Yeah, that is a pickle." That's awesome. That stuck out to me. So
it's all gibberish.
It's great. I bought it. I thought it was real.
Yeah, I've seen the book several times, and it's got a nice, appealing cover, and
absolutely,
the covers in the back of the singles, which I haven't personally seen the singles, but they're great covers.
They absolutely are.
Thanks.
They really nicely set up the story. Like,
they do.
They made sense after reading the trade.
Especially one of the issues, the one with the where Tim Resnick is on a porch. It's
the standing. He's
standing on a porch,
like the prom tuxedo with the dinosaurs.
That's great.
It's great.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense until you
and then it totally does.
They kind of spring the dinosaurs on you there, and you're like, "What? Where'd that come from?"
It's good. It's really quality stuff, man.
Thanks,
really
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Steven, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Well, thank
We
you guys.
appreciate it.
I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Everybody go check out Steven Bowman's stuff online, and go, if you're in Louisville or if you're around, go find a copy of the Sidekick or one of the singles of Astounding Tales Presents. So we'll try. You want to try the sign off? Give it a shot.
Sound it off, Captain.
All right, we'll try this. Just in the round. You done good, Joe.
You done good, Steven.
You done good, Will.
Yeah, that's it. You did it.
All right. Everybody listening done good. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.